All right, let's watch this.
Your theory describes the world, and as far as you're concerned, your description of the world is the world.
I think Jordan Peterson has unfortunately become someone who's extremely memeable, and the problem is that I feel like I understand him in a way that most people don't, and I also feel like his criticism is very valid, and he needs to address it soon, or he's going to lose his reputation forever. And I don't think he should. I don't think he should lose his reputation. I think that he's a remarkable mind that should gain respect, should earn respect from people. But I have more to say. I feel like I understand that he overcomplicates everything. And this has been going around for a while. You can see everyone online is talking about how he doesn't make sense anymore. But one of the reasons why he's overcomplicated is because he's always in the background of every conversation trying to show the world a link and set of links that he has made that are to him deeply powerful, deeply important, and quite, in my opinion, remarkable. So yeah, I see him struggling with a lot of this stuff, and you can see the title here, Jordan, misuse of religious language. I feel like this is what it's about. So let's go.
But because you're a scientist, you think, well, even though that's my description of the world and that's what I believe, there's something beyond what I believe.
So here is an apparent contradiction. He says that to a scientist, their description of the world is the world.
Wait, he said their description of the world is the world. Hold on.
Think, well, even though that's my description of the world and that's what I believe, there's something beyond what I believe.
So here is an apparent contradiction.
Oh, my cat's being annoying. Hold on.
Your theory describes the world, and as far as you're concerned, your description of the world is the world. But because you're a scientist, you think, well, even though that's my description of the world and that's what I believe, there's something beyond what I believe.
So he's not saying it is the world. He's saying that there's the world that you know, and you also have a extended world that you don't know, obviously. And oh, I see what's going on here. He's saying that symbolically that's the world, right? That's the world. It is the world. It's what how you perceive the world. So it sits in a place in your mind that you call the world. But then there's a world beyond that contradicts your world or extends past your world, that kind of thing. So I don't know if Jordan is saying that's a contradiction. If he is, that's weird.
Here is an apparent contradiction. He says that to a scientist, their description of the world is the world, but then immediately says that a scientist will recognize that there's more to the world than their description of it. Make that make sense? Well, this is why I think we get this strange claim about scientists presuming the ontologically transcendent. Because Peterson has claimed that a scientist's theory, to them, is the world, then when a scientist considers things that currently lie outside of their theory, they must be considering things that are not of the world, or in other words, transcendent, in the sense that they actually transcend the world.
Yeah.
That's where I think he's getting that word from. So I said a moment ago that he's using the word transcendent just because of its religious connotations, but here's another option. Maybe he really thinks that a scientist's theory is to them the entire world, and so when they think of something outside of their theory, they're thinking of something transcendent. But that doesn't make sense either, because, of course, to simply recognize that something exists outside of our current description is not to recognize the ontologically transcendent. It's just to say that there are things about nature that we currently do not know.
So it's both. And this is what I mean when I say that Jordan Peterson, his overcomplication of things is actually a result of him trying to point at the symmetry between very powerful language, religious language, and even very mundane occurrences. So you know something, you know that there are things beyond what you know, and that thing that's waiting for you beyond there is symbolically and actually a transcendent knowledge. It's something that transcends the world that you live in now. And in a mundane world, like in like a mundane example, this is kind of like weird use of language. Like, I didn't know that my cat was outside, and then my cat appeared outside. I thought she was inside, and then I saw her outside, and that was a transcendent piece of knowledge because it escaped my worldview and changed the very world I live in. And it's over dramatic, but technically true. And I think the reason why he wants you to see those kinds of things is because he wants to illustrate that there is artistic symbolism that's correct, technically correct in the world. And he's trying to build a worldview. Yeah. Let's keep going.
That's it. But Peterson actually responds to my objection here as follows.
This is a very complicated topic, right? Do you believe in a transcendent reality? So, okay, now let's say you buy the argument I just made on the natural front, and you say, yeah, that's just nature. That's not God.
Yes, that is pretty much what I'm saying. This world that exists outside of our current scientific description does not have to be God, does not have to be transcendent. It can just be the rest of nature that we don't yet understand.
Okay, so Jordan made it a bit more complicated because now he's calling that which is outside your purview God. And that's harder to defend or understand. Honestly, one of the things I do with Jordan is if I don't immediately understand it, I wait. I listen more and I think about it, because oftentimes I find that what he's saying is actually correct and it's a link that I haven't considered before. But it seems too broad. Like, the things that are outside of your knowledge are God, or even evidence of God. Weird.
To be transcendent. It can just be the rest of nature that we don't yet understand.
And then I'd say, well, what makes you think you know what nature is? Like, see, the problem with that argument is that it already presumes a reductionist, materialist, objective view of what constitutes nature.
Wait, hold on. Do you see what's just happened? Peterson says, first, that scientists believe in something outside of their current theoretical description of the world. I agree.
Yes.
He then says that this has to be transcendent and deistic. I say, well, hold on, why can't it just be nature? And he says, well, can you prove that? Can you prove that it's just nature? How do you even know what nature is? Well, no, I can't prove that. But I never claimed to be able to. Excuse me, but I'm not the one claiming scientists have to be materialists. You're the one claiming that they have to be deistic. You're the one making the claim, not me. If I made the claim that scientists have to presuppose naturalism, then yes, I'd need to give some evidence for this. But I'm not making that claim. You're making the claim that belief in something outside of our current theories has to be, for some reason, transcendent and deistic, and can't just be natural. You're the one who has to back that up. So, the first mistake that I think Peterson makes...
Okay, so wait, so I feel like when I'm watching this, I'm feeling a little bit confused as to what's actually going on here, because there's a claim here that I didn't hear out of Jordan's mouth, and I'm also curious. I've heard stuff like this before, which is that all atheists are actually they believe in a God, they just don't realize it. And I'm pretty sympathetic. I actually feel that's true in a way, if definitionally you have a similar idea of what God is that I do. And I think that God is a much more complex idea than a person in the sky. It doesn't, I don't want to get into it. But basically you could reduce the idea of God to something magnificent, like truth and reality itself. God is that. And And then you all I actually cannot reduce it to something so small, because it's also where you get values and morals from, and what you're trying to align to when you say things like be good, right? I want to be a better person. You're aligning yourself with this idea of this highest value system, because the highest value system points you in a specific direction. So you've got an idea of what's the best and the best version of moral, and you want to fulfill that by when you say the words, I want to be a better person. And so even when people believe that there's no such, or say they believe that there's no such thing as good and bad, they never can uphold that in practice. They have to live in a world where there is such thing as good and bad. And so this is one of the reasons why I can say that people will say they don't believe in religious things and spirituality or God, or they don't have that worldview. But at the end of the day, when you press and you peel back, you see that their very function denies those facts. So everything that they do in their life actually tells me the opposite, that there is some kind of core beliefs that everyone has that they can't get rid of, and most people wouldn't recognize that those are religious in nature. So that's where I would come from. But I'm just not understanding Jordan enough, this argument right now, to understand where he's getting that from. The unknown. The unknown is honestly often related to the Almighty, to that which is so far beyond, because imagine the idea of God is that he's infinite, right? So no matter how much you would know of God, there's always more to know. And that's the same thing with truth. And that's why they're so synonymous. Truth itself, no matter how much truth you have, you're never going to know everything. And that extends to infinity. And so truth is this unknown deity that we can never fully comprehend. It's not possible. And so what is truth that you don't have, that you don't know? That's the unknown, and that's the transcendent waiting for you to discover. So that's my best shot
on this science and religion stuff, is to confuse facts that are not currently encompassed by our scientific description of the world with ontologically transcendent truths. But then...
Okay, I'm going to be honest with you. In this very moment, I don't remember what ontology is. Ontological. I'm going to have to look that up. Wait, let's just look it up. Find out what that is. Ontological truth. So, ontology. Ontology is a field of study. The branch of... Why is it going the most roundabout way? Okay. The branch of metaphysics dealing with the nature of being. Dealing with the nature of being. The nature of being human, or being itself, that which is truth, by the way. So the branch of metaphysics dealing with that which is a set of concepts and categories in a subject area or domain that shows their properties and the relationships between them. All right, that's very broad. Let's see what the AI said. Oh, so we want to go broadest. Being and existence. Okay, so existence itself, it explores fundamental questions about what exists, what means for something to exist, and the relationship. So this is stuff that I actually do all the time. This is what I enjoy. And the relationship between different kinds of entities. Nature of being reality. Key question, does an external reality exist independently of our minds? Cool. Cool. All right, so I have a very mild understanding of ontology. It's just the nature of being. And so what did he say? He said...
description of the world with ontologically transcendent truths. But then he also, as a second step, and basically with no...
ontologically transcendent truths. All right, we're just going to have to make that work in my mind later. So let's continue.
Justification claims that these transcendent truths have to be deistic in nature?
What's the precondition for being a scientist? And I thought, well, in some sense, it's a there's deistic preconditions.
Where the hell did that bit come from? Well, for all my searching, this is the best explanation that I can find from Peterson.
So as a scientist, you have to posit the existence of the ontological transcendent before you can move forward at all. But more.
Okay. Do you have to, let's make it simple. Do you have to believe that there are truths that will transcend your current understanding? Yes. And because of that, as a scientist, you have to leave the door open, the curiosity open, so that you know if something does come along that disproves your theory, you are willing to let it go. And this is like a little picture of like a sacrificial lamb. Your old truths die so that something new can arise. Symbolically potent and true. So you have to believe in the ontological truth of transcendence. The nature that in reality, in existence, I don't know, sounds, what a complicated word that I feel like I must not understand properly, but let's listen again.
Transcendent before you can move forward at all, but more.
Yes, before you can move forward at all, because where are you moving to, if not to, as a scientist, if not to things that you don't know? Because when you're conducting experiments and making hypotheses, you're basically saying, I wonder, I don't know this, but I think maybe, you know, so you have these questions. And science is built upon that assumption, which is a philosophical assumption. That's one of my favorite assumptions that scientists make. They don't realize they're basing their whole practice on a fundamental principle, on a fundamental philosophy that says that truth exists. So there's one. And that the way to get the truth is, and the truth of what? The truth of the mysteries of the universe. And the way to get there is to use the truth. And that's to be honest and record data honestly, to ask questions honestly. And through that, you will find more truth, uncover mysteries, find the unknown and bring it into the known. So, yeah, that's true.
You have to posit that contact with the ontological transcendent, annoying though it is because it upsets your apple cart, is exactly what will in fact set you free. So then you accept the proposition that there is a transcendent reality.
I think Alex put that in there. Set you free. See, I see what he's doing here. Set you free is correct symbolically and artistically. Like I said, if you kill, and that's what it is, you're killing an old belief so that a new one can rise in its place. That is setting you free of burden. Now, and what I said before was, if my cat's outside, I didn't believe she was outside. I have been set free of misconceptions that would affect my outlook on the world, which is going to affect how I behave. So, but set you free is, yeah, I know. Alex is basically going to say it's over dramatic. That's what I think.
And that contact with that transcendent reality is redemptive in the most fundamental sense, because if it wasn't, well, why would you bother making contact with it? You're going to make everything worse or better?
Right. So Peterson is clarifying that in order to do science, a scientist must be motivated. Mm-hmm. They must somehow think that by discovering new truths, they're achieving some good or doing something worthwhile. Of course, this is true in a sense.
Yeah.
In order to do anything, we need a motivation to do it.
Yeah.
But Peterson insists that a scientist's motivation has to be that they'll be set free by it, and that this will be redemptive. Why?
Wait, did he say that the reason why? Because he didn't say the reason why you are motivated is that it will set you free, right?
Before you can move forward at all, but more. You have to posit that contact with the ontological transcendent, annoying though it is because it upsets your apple cart, is exactly what will in fact set you free.
Okay. I see the wording. The wording is poetic, and annoyingly so. But what he's saying is that the reason why it's annoying is because you have to be ready to accept things that you don't want to hear. In my relationship, I don't want to hear that I'm a burden in the relationship, or that I'm the reason why we have friction, or I'm the reason why anything. But is it important to hear? Yes. Why? Because then hopefully your relationship can be better off. Right? It's that simple. Be willing to hear and encounter information that you don't want to hear, right? That you don't want to encounter. And the reason why you would even do such a thing is because you know that the outcome is beneficial. It's going to make things better. So you have a surrendering of things you may not know as being redemptive. They may save you from your brokenness, from your broken relationship, from your misunderstanding, from your ignorance. Yeah, it makes sense, right? Absolutely. Let's see what Alex has to say.
Scientists' motivation has to be that they'll be set free by it, and that this will be redemptive. Why would he choose these terms? Again, like transcendent, I think that he's purposefully using religiously charged language to make his quite straightforward observation seem like it has religious significance, where it in fact does not. One of the most famous passages...
Okay, so I think this is the crux, right? That's what I'm saying. Jordan is always using this language because he's trying to make it apparent to the world, this crossover between the symbolism and reality, like the actual way things work in your everyday life. So things that go unobserved by the everyday man, little correlations that are going unobserved by how that confirm how real these religious imageries are. He doesn't want that to be in the background anymore. He doesn't want you to miss it. He wants you to see, look at this worldview that I've got, that I can see all these mappings onto religious text or religious, and it's not just religious, it's also like narrative styled symbolism. There is a wealth of information there. And by noticing that, this is what I think it is. By noticing that there is this image-based framework, and it actually is in line with how things work in the universe, you might appreciate the art more. Like movies, books, narratives, the Bible, religious visions, normal, like your own imagination, your dreams, all of these places are connected to the symbolism and unpacking complex things that happen in the real world. And I find it exciting. I find it exciting seeing how the symbols match onto the real world in a real way. And it's complicated. It's super complicated. Yeah, that's all I got.
Passages from the Gospel of John is John 8:32. Then you will know the truth, and the truth will set you free. And of course, redemption is the key project of the New Testament.
Yes. But the reason why you would use the word "set you free" as and referencing the Bible is because he's also trying to point out that the Bible has been saying this the whole time. And like, if you can then see how these principles that are like so grand apply to everything, like that you find it everywhere, you will stop rubbishing the principles that are in the Bible.
So Peterson is using words that play on Christian themes, but as I say, I think he's doing this unjustifiably. For example, why does a scientist have to believe that science will set them free? Well, this is something that Lex Friedman actually asks.
Why does the contact with the transcendent set you free as a scientist?
Because you assume, I mean, freedom in the most fundamental sense. It's like, well, freedom from want, freedom from disease, freedom from ignorance, right? That it informs you.
But do you see how this is a bit ridiculous? Peterson just said that it's because a scientist thinks that science will set us free from ignorance or inform us.
Freedom from ignorance, right? That it informs you.
But what a strange way to phrase it. Instead of saying that a scientist thinks that science will inform us or increase our knowledge or something like that, Peterson insists that science will set us free from ignorance. There's nothing strictly wrong with using this phrasing. It's a bit more poetic and pretty. But here it's clearly being used in such a way as to suggest that science is religious in nature by making a not-so-subtle nod to the Bible. Same thing with redemptive.
Redemptive in the most fundamental sense, because if it wasn't, well, why would you bother making contact with it? You're going to make everything worse or better?
Sure, science can increase our well-being by curing diseases and the like, but the word redemptive seems like it's been chosen to inject religious imagery. And if you don't...
Yeah, look, you got to agree with that. Like, redeeming and redemptive is such an archaic word that me, as a Christian growing up, and like I'm someone who's been a Christian growing up, I've been around the language my whole life. And it's one of those words where even as a Christian, you barely know what it means. Like, you say it, that Jesus is the Redeemer. It's like Redeemer of our sins, and then you try to like correlate that to redeeming coupons, and for me it draws a blank. I'm like, what am I redeeming? What does... Yeah, it's a tough word. In some contexts it's pretty obvious. Can you redeem the coupon? You know, that means like put it in and get your money back, like, or get your prize or whatever. Yeah, it's a funny, but Jordan Peterson could know exactly what that means, and it holds a specific energy in language that he's trying to touch on. Now, could I be giving him too much credit? Maybe. Redemption is a is a funny one, but it also, like, there's like a lot of movies. I think there was a movie called Redemption. It was a Jamie Foxx movie, and he's like a gangster. And redemption just means, like, in like a normal context, turning your life around, or like going from bad to good, right? Which is weird, because why does a coupon have anything to do with bad to good? Anyways, so it is what science does. The result of science is redemption, hopefully, some of it, right? No. Exploration is redemptive to me individually. How? For me individually, if I was a scientist, I would want to bring something new to the world that's exciting. And that's exciting to me. It's less about setting me free, learning, and it's more about what's interesting. So like we're missing like our key motivator, that I'm so interested in those unknown facts. And I guess I don't know how that maps on to redemption and being set free. I am set free from ignorance. I'm trying to give the devil his due. I'm trying to give Jordan Peterson a go, and I'm trying to give Alex a go. Yeah, but I'm going to watch.
Believe me, just think about it for a second. Imagine that I were on a road trip and I were reading a map, and that map told me where to exit the highway. And then I claimed that because this map informed me of something that I didn't already know, the map didn't just inform me or help me direct my car, no. The map set me free from my ignorance after I contacted the ontologically transcendent, that is, the directions that were outside of my knowledge, and this has been redemptive in the sense that it's made things better.
Like, if you said that to me next to you, I'd be like, what the F are you saying? I would look at you in the eye and be like, are you okay? Yes, it told you to go left. And I guess if you're talking in a casual setting, there is no need to speak like that. No way Jordan speaks like that. No way that the map set me free from my ignorance and allowed me to move forward into the transcendent unknown. I doubt it, right? But if you did, that would be weird. And I think the reason why it's weird is because it's dramatic. And yeah, symbolically, that probably happened on a very minor scale. And if you are having a conversation to prove that it is happening everywhere, and this is something that we go through, we move into the unknown, and you're trying to make a picture of this amazing truth of reality, yeah, you could bring it up. You could say, even when you exit the highway after the map has been rerouted, you could say that. But yeah, obviously it would be dramatic.
For me, I'm now going in the right direction. That's right, reading a map has deistic preconditions.
Deistic preconditions.
Because to read a map, you have to believe that there exists the ontologically transcendent, that which is outside of your current description of the world. And you have to believe that by engaging with it, you set yourself free in a way that's redemptive. That's the idea that you're being sold here. I really hope that you can see through it now. The thing that Peterson is actually describing when he talks about how science works is about as straightforward and banal as my description of how a map works. But just by dressing it up in this religious imagery, he makes it sound a lot more profound than it actually is if you're not listening carefully. And not only does he make it sound more profound, he makes it sound more religious. So just like when he describes fictional stories in the Bible as meta-truths, he's allowing himself to sound like he's committing himself to quite profound, spiritual, supernatural, and religious claims without actually doing anything of the kind. All of this serves to obscure a truly straightforward and ordinary secular observation about how science works behind a wall of religious imagery, which, intentionally or not, is vastly misleading. I mean, let's put this argument first in Jordan Peterson's own terms, and then in more straightforward language. Jordan Peterson has given an argument that scientists must assume a transcendent deistic reality. And that's because a scientist must believe in a transcendent realm outside of the world, contact with which is redemptive and sets us free. Now,
okay, I don't know how we're claiming that it's deistic. You could, I would say it's a principle, it's a non-material reality, because it's a principle, it's a concept, something that isn't material. It's a belief. It's a faith statement that there are things that I don't know. It's a very reliable faith statement, but it is one. You're saying the unknown's out there, and it's a mention of a deep truth that's like, because it's non-material, it doesn't exist anywhere, but it exists everywhere. Not because it's non-material, but it does exist everywhere in our reality. And I don't think Jordan isn't committing to certain claims, but I think he does have trouble.
Now let's hear the same thing without the poetic terminology and without confusing a scientist's description of the world for the world. Peterson argues that scientists must believe in truths not currently captured by our scientific description of the world, and that uncovering these truths will make us less ignorant and sometimes allow us to improve our welfare, such as in medical research. That's it.
No, it's not it. Alex, it's not it. He the whole point of what he's doing, which he never explicitly says for some reason, is to draw the connection between that which is going on symbolically, narratively, in stories, to the scientific endeavor. And the reason why he's pointing to the scientific endeavor is to explain that those beliefs themselves are religious beliefs. There is such thing as truth. There is such thing as discovering it, uncovering it, venturing off into the unknown, building a house out of the clay that you didn't know what those materials were, and you have this new thing, this new order. And that is a narrative space, that is principles and concepts that are artistic. Can I explain that better? I feel like one day I can, but right now that's it.
That is what he's argued. And somehow this leads to deism? I just don't see it. This is why I think you have to be duly cautious when dealing with Jordan Peterson. By subtly playing around with definitions, and by using terms that aren't always strictly inaccurate, but in highly unusual contexts, he can begin making bizarre claims, like, you can't be secular in a museum.
Are you looking at art? Yes. Well, what makes you think you're secular then?
Or scientists
Okay, I have no idea how you do that.
have to presuppose deism.
There's deistic preconditions.
Or the Exodus is still happening.
They happen.
Okay, the deistic preconditions are like what I said before. You have to believe that truth exists in order to do science. It's absolutely true. And to do good science, there's a moral element. You have to do it truthfully. Otherwise, first of all, it doesn't work in the end. Like you run the same experiment that someone else did and they lied about it. You try it, doesn't work. And that means it's not useful, doesn't help, doesn't change the world in any way. And then the other thing is that there's an expectation that if I adventure into science and I adventure on this question, then I will discover new facts, new truths that will change the world. Absolutely. And that supposes that truth has a quality that would make the world, update the world. Yeah. And that's kind of what the Bible, one of the main stories in the Bible is about.
In a meta manner. They're still happening.
I think that a good summary
In a meta,
or the Exodus is still happening.
they happened in a meta manner. They're still happening.
I think that a good summary of where it is that Peterson
Yeah, Exodus is still happening. It's fine point. The same human interactions, the same story that Exodus has is pretty universal, and it continues to happen over and over again. It is a transcendent story because it transcends. It's like Shakespeare, transcends time and place and culture, and it's just good. It's meaningful everywhere.
goes wrong when talking about religion can be found in the following clip, in which he considers whether the Christian logos, that is, Jesus himself, is divine.
The divinity of Christ, well, I would say the same problems with the question formulation obtain. What do you mean by divine? And also, what do you mean by Christ?
Hey, those are good questions. Divine? Oof, tough. That which is godlike, that which is like, yeah, because like, could the divine be relative to humans, for example? Like, it's so beyond humans, it's divine morally. Maybe it's morally. Yeah, it has to be morally, right? Like, it's divine. Or it's so beautiful that it's beyond recognition. It's divine. It's wonderful. So it's so wonderful that it's in like a godlike category. But maybe you could have an AI that's divine, like in 20 years when they can create black holes, a divine creature, the AI, and it will no longer be artificial anymore. It'll just be I.
These are very, very difficult questions. Now, I believe that, for all intents and purposes, I believe that the Logos is divine. Insofar as if by divine you mean of ultimate value, of ultimate transcendent value, yes, it's divine.
But who does mean that by divine? I mean, seriously, when somebody asks if Jesus is divine, they're clearly asking if he is God, or at least God-like.
Yeah. Wait, did those two things not mean the same thing? Of ultimate value, God-like? God-like? Yeah, what? Oh, what? Wait, why did he get... Okay, sorry, I'm shocked because they just repeated each other.
Yes, it's divine.
But who does...
Ultimate value.
Ultimate, far as if by divine you mean of ultimate value, of ultimate transcendent value, yes, it's divine.
But...
Yeah, ultimate transcendent value. And this is the Christ story? Wait.
Now, I believe that for all intents and purposes...
Oh, the Logos. Yes. So the word that is true is divine. Yes. 100, and probably one of... It is a principle that is so strong, so real, that it's one of the most real things we have. It's transcendent in the fact that it's in the idea. So if you don't understand the Logos is the idea of the truth, and also the truth that is spoken, but it's also truth itself, right? So, and it's where we get the word logic, right? Logical, Logos, right? So you have a truth that without truth, nothing can be, nothing can exist, because it's not true that it exists. There's no truth that it doesn't exist. There's no space for anything at all, including nothing, right? Because there can't even be a nothing without there being the nothing being. Anyways, so that's how fundamental to reality the Logos idea is, if you understand the Logos in the way that I'm describing it. And so to not call that God-like, I think, crazy, or of highest value, which is the same thing that we were talking about before. The thing that is beyond the known and is out there is of ultimate value. And as a whole, not just like turning left when the map tells you because you didn't know to turn left, but its value extended to all the other times that the unknown has to offer you something more. And by venturing into the unknown, there's more to grab. So you're looking at it holistically. It is always that way. Oh, I was really close to being able to describe it, but just off.
They're clearly asking if he is God, or at least God-like. By simply redefining divine to mean something more convenient and more secular, Peterson can then say that the Logos is divine. But he's simply now talking about something completely different, and something that isn't even supernatural anymore. In conclusion, I think that we should stop allowing Jordan Peterson to get away with a vagueness of language that we wouldn't accept in any other context. He's so loose with definitions and meanings when talking about religion that, as Mohammed Hijab points out, he begins to sound like a postmodernist.
When I was reading your book, you were talking about some psychological theory, which I don't forget. I forget what it is right now. But you mentioned something. You said there's, the problem with this such and such theory is that it doesn't have any evidence. Full stop. Categorical. All this, what you're doing now, you didn't mention that. You didn't say, well, it depends on what you mean by this. It depends on what you... Sorry to say, yeah. But it depends on what you mean by this. It depends on what you mean. You become postmodern all of a sudden.
I mean, just listen here to Peterson asking, does God exist?
People say to me, do you believe in God? And I think, okay, there's a couple of mysteries in that question. What do you mean do? What do you mean you?
what do you mean believe? And what do you mean God? And you say as the questioner, well, we already know what all those things mean, except belief in God. And I think, no, if we're going to get down to the fundamental brass tacks, we don't really know what any of those things mean.
You become postmodern all of a sudden.
Just imagine.
No, I think Jordan Peterson has always given credit to the postmodernists for really bringing up a good argument. Now, do, meaning what type of... So let me give Jordan Peterson his best bet on what he's trying to say. But before I do, it is extremely frustrating that when the person in front of you is asking you a question and your job is to reply, if you understand everything they meant by that question, there is no question of what they mean, right? So because I'm going to show you in a second why you can split those words up into multiple meanings, right? but the person who's asking has a definition, and if you can hear it, see it, you understand it, answer it. Yeah, this is probably the most frustrating thing about Jordan Peterson, is because he says it's usually not this, do you believe in God? It's usually that he hates the question because of the word believe. I hate the question because of the word God. Okay, but if you ask me, do you believe in God? I'll say yeah. Probably not how you think of it, but yeah. And then if you ask Jordan Peterson, he goes, what do you mean by believe? And I think it's very disingenuous, because you know, Jordan, exactly what they mean by believe. And what they mean is something very simple. Does God exist in your mind or not? Does it exist? Now, I don't even think that's what the Bible was talking about when it was calling people to believe in God. I actually think it has a different definition. And that would be that when you say to your wife or your partner, I believe in you, are you saying, I believe you exist? No, that's a very weird thing to say. Do you believe in me? Yes, I believe in you. What are you saying? You're saying that I have faith in you. I believe in your potential. I believe in your ability. I believe in you. So I put my trust in you, right? I'm putting my faith in you. And I think that's what the Bible was trying to call for when it says believe in God. It means there's lots of reasons not to believe in him, to not trust God. But if you trust God, that would be your salvation, right? And that means spiritually, right? You would go to heaven. You would be in a better place because of that. Maybe in today and maybe after you die. Whatever. But sorry, I just got a call. We can now we'll go into the do. Okay, so do, it means to act. And so when you're saying do I believe in God, are you saying do as in I act it out, or that do as in do I think like, am I doing the believing in God, or am I or is it the do as in just just a passing word? Okay, I don't actually know what the opposite is. So I'm wrong. But the you is easier. The you is which part of you. So do you, and when I point to you, am I talking to the best version of you, or am I talking to the part of you that's sitting and active right here in this room? Am I talking to your, which spirit am I speaking to? Believe, again, believe as in act out, or logically. And then God. Obviously, the God one is extremely difficult. So do you believe a God exists? I mean, if you understand the sentence, just say it.
Imagine that he was being asked about literally any other context. Say, Dr. Peterson, do you believe that George Washington crossed the Delaware River in 1776?
Okay, there's a couple of mysteries in that question. What do you mean do? What do you mean you? What do you mean believe? And what do you mean
George Washington?
And you say, as the questioner, well, we already know what all those things mean. We don't really know what any of those things mean.
In any other context, we would accuse Peterson of purposefully obfuscating the question in order to avoid giving a straight answer. Is that what he's doing here? Well, that would depend on what you mean by is and that and doing. But yes, probably, yeah.
Amazing.
Guys, Dricus du Plessis is defending against Kazmat Chimaev at this weekend. And I'll
Amazing. Yeah, I disagree with Jordan in how he presents certain things. He needs to start just being honest. And Alex, I also disagree that you're analyzing it fairly. Even though you've been really fair.
Your theory describes the world, and as